Now, if you have Stephanie on FB, then you already know that she's been saying that some kind of DCFS or CPS worker leaked her information. Now, this is concerning because lately she has been a little bit unhinged and crashing out. She's saying she's being hacked. She's saying all her information is being leaked. It's very concerning.
This whole thing didn't start with a big dramatic job. It started with Stephanie casually saying something she really shouldn't have said out loud, and the second it left her mouth, everything shifted. One minute it was the usual complaints about feeling exposed online, feeling uncomfortable, feeling like people were watching her, and then all of a sudden, she was telling her audience that CPS, DHS workers specifically, had leaked her private information to the public, not as a question, not as confusion, but as something she claimed had already been confirmed. And once that accusation is out there, you can't really walk it back because accusing a government agency and actual caseworkers of leaking confidential information isn't just internet noise or another emotional rant. That's a serious claim with real consequences attached to it. Still, Stephanie does what she always does in moments like this. She centers how disrespected and violated she feels while quietly skating past the much bigger question of why CPS and DHS are involved in her life at all. This didn't happen randomly, and it didn't come out of nowhere. It fits into a long, very visible pattern of hostility towards CPS, teachers, mandated reporters, and anyone who questions her parenting or the conditions her children are living in, making this feel less like a misunderstanding and more like the latest escalation in a situation that's been building for a long time. Stephanie stated publicly her comments, and just recently we received notification that a worker at DHS leaked our information from their system. It's not a joke. People genuinely think we deserve no respect.
Did a CPS worker leak the resilient Jenkins private information? No! This comment on one of Stephanie's most recent posts from Stephanie says, and just recently we received a notification that a worker at DHS leaked our information from their system. It's not a joke. People genuinely think we deserve no respect. But she's saying that someone leaked their private information, which I can just promise you did not happen. No one is trading their salary or their income or their stability to snark on you, Stephanie. I think that people are just right when they guess about what's going on with you and CPS, and I think that scares you. Do you guys think that anyone from any of these agencies would leak the private information of these children who are already suffering? Because I personally don't. I think that what a child welfare employee would actually do is do everything in their power to protect these kids internally and not outsource to the public and leak the kids' private information. That kind of goes against everything that social work is.
And this is the exact moment where everything changes. Because this isn't vague anymore. This isn't implied. This isn't high hinting around the edges. This is a direct accusation. She's saying plainly that a DHS worker accessed the internal system and leaked her private information to the public. And she's using that claim to explain how people allegedly got her address and details about her children, including their clothing sizes. And I need to slow this part down because this is not a small thing to accuse someone of. DHS workers don't casually access systems for fun, and they definitely don't leak information just because they feel like it. Confidentiality is the backbone of that job. Breaking it doesn't just get you written up or side-eyed by a supervisor, it gets you fired, it gets you blacklisted from the field, and in serious cases, it can land you in legal trouble. So when Stephanie throws this out like it's obvious, like it's the most reasonable explanation, it shows how far gone the logic is at this point.
Now, here's the thing. CPS and DCFS cannot legally give out any information. And it's like, if you're this paranoid on social media this bad, then why are you still here? Stephanie, nobody's leaking out your information. The school has probably called DCFS or CPS because you've been having issues with them too. I am pretty sure that CPS is stepping in. And of course, she blames us. Mind you, Stephanie has been giving the teachers at her kids' school a very hard time, and she has literally told us that. And I'm sure she's paranoid because CPS is monitoring her.
From here on out, everything she says is built on this one belief. The anger, the paranoia, the refusal to consider any other explanation, it all stacks on top of this accusation like it's already been proven. There is no hesitation. No, I'm not sure. No, this doesn't make sense, but I'm scared. She presents it as fact and expects people to accept it as fact. And that's what makes this so reckless, because there is no benefit, no reward, and no rational reason for a DHS worker to risk their entire career, their income, and their freedom over Stephanie. Anyone even remotely familiar with child welfare knows that leaking protected information is one of the fastest ways to permanently end your career in that field. Yet Stephanie doesn't treat this as unlikely, exaggerated, or questionable. She treats it as settled truth. And instead of pausing, taking a breath, or even entertaining the idea that maybe there is another explanation here, she does what she always does. She doubles down. This is why she starts going after CPS directly in the comments, not with questions or confusion, but with accusations, framing herself as the victim of some bigger institutional mistreatment. Like this is a coordinated effort to strip her of privacy and basic respect. And the thing is, she talks like there are no other possibilities at all. Like it couldn't possibly be that her wish list was public, or that people already knew she was living in a motel because she herself talked about it, or that viewers could reasonably guess details based on what she has chosen to put online. All of these explanations get brushed aside immediately because they don't support the narrative she's committed to. Instead, she jumps straight to the most extreme conclusion available, that CPS is targeting her, that systems are being used against her, that none of this could possibly be the result of her own oversharing or her own actions. And listening to it unfold, it doesn't sound like someone trying to make sense of a situation. It sounds like someone who already decided who the villain is and is now working backwards to make everything fit. This whole idea completely falls apart the second you apply even the most basic understanding of how child welfare actually works. Because a DHS worker is not going to risk their job, their livelihood, and their freedom just to leak Stephanie's information. That's not how this field operates, and it never has. Confidentiality isn't some casual guideline they bend when they feel like it. It's the backbone of the job. Every access to a system is logged, violations are investigated, and the consequences are serious. We are talking termination, permanent blacklisting from the field, and in some cases, legal trouble. There is no upside here, no personal gain, no secret reward waiting at the end of that kind of risk. And this is the part that makes the accusation feel especially detached from reality, because the entire reason CPS and DHS are involved at all is to access risk, protect children, and keep situations contained. Their goal is safety and privacy, not exposure. They are not trying to make situations louder, messier, or more dangerous. They are trying to do the exact opposite. Leaking sensitive information will directly contradict the entire mission they are there to carry out, which makes this allegation not just unlikely but completely backwards. And this accusation doesn't just come out of nowhere when you actually look at Stephanie's history with CPS, because hostility toward caseworkers has been a constant theme for her, not a new reaction. She has repeatedly gone after them online, mocked them, insulted them, and framed their involvement as harassment. Even though these are routine welfare checks, tied directly to concerns about her children.
Here, we're a family of 7 who currently lives in a motel. So if you go back a few videos on my page, you're going to find the first part of this video where I was discussing how we had a certain person at my kiddo's school who she goes a bit out of line when she speaks to my children. Yeah, so that very day that I posted that video and made that voiceover, my daughter came home again and told me the same freaking teacher brought her into the office and had another conversation with her. And I was like, what she have to talk to you about this time? She said she honestly had the same conversation with me again. And like, let me tell you something. I got confrontational anxiety because I'll be the type of person that just takes my confrontation a bit too far. Like, you're gonna get the fiery ass redhead side of me. So 9 times out of 10, I avoid conversation with people that are spiking some kind of heat in me. You feel me? But that's all beside the point if you're gonna sit there and harass my child, because then you kind of deserve that side of me, don't you think? It's looking like Monday I'm gonna have to go up into this school and actually have a conversation face to face with this person. And yes, I was snapping at my kids multiple times throughout this video because they kept fighting while Drew was trying to sleep. They get so freaking loud when they're fighting, I swear. Like, having kids so close in age is not very weak. But anyways, besties, if y'all made it this far, I really appreciate you. This was Thursday's cleanup. Drew did Friday's cleanup. And I did Saturdays, which is for me, is tonight. And I'm going to finish editing that probably tomorrow because I am a bit behind, but that's okay. Bye-bye now.
Just a month ago, she made a post attacking CPS while she was hospitalized for kidney stone surgery. And even that situation somehow became about her being annoyed rather than about why a caseworker might need to check in. She complained publicly about being visited and captioned the post with, "Me being civil and speaking to a caseworker about some BS for the 89th time." And that line alone says a lot, because 90-something visits don't happen for no reason. But instead of reflecting on why CPS keeps showing up, she treats it like an inconvenience she's being forced to tolerate.
Okay, so y'all sent me this. Apparently, Stephanie is in the hospital for a kidney stone for the 3rd time this year, and a caseworker is speaking to her. And then the audio on this was, if I had a missile, I would throw it at that bitch. The decisions that are being made are just like not, it's really hard to defend you not being on hard drugs. I'm gonna say that. a caseworker tracked you down in the ER, they want to talk to you real bad. At what point do you swallow your pride and think, like, maybe I do need to make some changes? Maybe I do need to do things a little bit differently. Maybe I am fucking up a little bit. You don't want to take opinions and advice from strangers on the internet, cool, whatever, but you are literally known worldwide for being a neglectful parent. Your daughter's teacher has talked to her multiple times in private, and that's only the times that you know about. Your daughter has had your baby has had multiple seizures, and now you have a caseworker coming and giving you suggestions for the 89th time. Let you tell it. At what point do you be like, maybe I do need to do something a little bit different? Fuck it. If it don't work, it don't work. At least I tried. Like, that's what we'll be talking about. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Something about, I know it was a joke, it was an audio, but if you had a missile, you would throw it at that bitch towards your caseworker, baby. As someone who used to be a caseworker, you would have been seeing me again that day with the sheriff. I'm not gonna hold you.
Then she layered on a sound that subtly joked about sending a missile, which might sound flippant to her, but is deeply disturbing given the context. Real people, real investigations, and real children involved. And this was all happening at a time when things were objectively serious. Her baby had experienced multiple seizures in just 1 week, and her oldest daughter had exposed that a baby had fallen off the bed. Those are not minor parenting moments or internet drama. Those are legitimate safety concerns that absolutely justify CPS involvement. Yet instead of acknowledging that reality, instead of recognizing why someone might be worried about her children, Stephanie chose to frame CPS as the enemy, as if they were the problem rather than the situation that brought them there in the first place. And this isn't some one-off slip or a bad day either. This is a pattern Stephanie has been repeating for a long time. She has openly referred to CPS as child snatchers, accused them of trying to rip families apart, and painted them as villains instead of what they actually are in her situation, a response to ongoing unresolved red flags. And every time they show back up, instead of acknowledging that repeated visits usually mean something still isn't right, she reacts with anger like their presence is some personal attack. What she never seems willing to sit with is the obvious part. CPS doesn't keep returning because they are bored or because they have some obsession with her. They come back when concerns haven't been resolved. But instead of addressing those concerns or making changes that would make the involvement unnecessary, she turns her frustration outward and attacks the people raising the alarms, as if silencing the messengers would somehow fix the situation itself. That same pattern shows up at her children's school, and this part is especially uncomfortable because it involves adults who are legally required to step in when something doesn't feel right. Teachers privately spoke to her children and asked about their motel living situation. Not to be nosy, not to start drama, but because they are mandated reporters, and this is literally their job. When a child is living in unstable housing, when there are ongoing concerns, teachers are required to ask questions and document what they are saying. Stephanie, however, didn't treat this like a normal safeguarding procedure. She became furious. She accused the teacher of crossing boundaries, took the situation online, and publicly called them out as if they had done something inappropriate, when in reality, they were doing exactly what the law expects them to do. She even went as far as threatening to go to the school and confront the teacher, fully aware that this conversation with her children could very easily be part of CPS follow-up checks meant to ensure their safety. And that's the part that's hard to ignore, because instead of recognizing a very standard child welfare process, one that exists specifically to protect kids, her reaction wasn't concern, reflection, or understanding. It was aggression. It was outrage. It was another moment of treating accountability like a personal attack. And once again, directing that anger at the people who are legally obligated to speak up when something seems wrong. At this point, it genuinely feels like everyone and everything has been placed on Stephanie's enemy list. The public is against her. CPS is against her. DHS is against her. Teachers are against her. Amazon is against her. GoFundMe is against her. Every platform, every system, every person who asks a question or raises a concern gets folded into this idea that there is some coordinated effort to invade her privacy. Nope. Every platform, every system, every person who asks a question raises a concern gets folded into this idea that there is some coordinated effort to invade her privacy, undermine her, and target her specifically. And listening to it unfold, it doesn't come across like someone reacting to one isolated incident. It sounds like someone who believes the entire world is closing in on them. Any moment that doesn't go her way gets filtered through that lens. Gifts sent to her kids aren't help, they are proof of surveillance. Mandated check ins aren't safeguarding, they are harassment. Account issues aren't technical problems, they are hacking. Everything becomes confirmation of the same belief. People who have lived with addicts have pointed out that this kind of thinking can show up when paranoia sets in, especially when it's directed toward public agencies and systems. And while no diagnosis is being made here, the pattern itself is familiar. The sense that everyone is watching, everyone is plotting, and nothing that happens is neutral or accidental anymore. And that mindset doesn't just isolate the person experiencing it, it creates chaos for the people around them, especially the children who are caught in the middle of it. Through all of this, Stephanie consistently positions herself as the victim. And that's the through line that never seems to change, even as everything around her does. Every situation, every intervention, every question from an outside adult somehow gets reframed as something being done to her, while her children are the ones still living with the instability, uncertainty, and neglect. The focus never really stays on them for long. It always circles back to how she feels, how unfair this is to her, and how disrespected she believes she's being. And instead of putting that energy into actually improving her children's environment or doing the things that would naturally reduce CPS involvement, she directs it outward, attacking the very systems that are there because something isn't right. CPS doesn't stay involved when conditions improve. They don't keep checking in when situations stabilize. If things were genuinely better, if concerns had been addressed, their presence wouldn't still be necessary. But here we are. Nothing has changed. The instability is still there, the concerns are still there, and instead of accountability or reflection, what we keep seeing is deflection. Blame shifted onto agencies, workers, teachers, and systems, while the people who matter the most in all of this, her children, remain stuck in the same situation. This situation is no longer about Stephanie feeling uncomfortable. It's about the consequences of refusing accountability while escalating accusations against the people tasked with safeguarding her children. Let me know what you think about these allegations because this is a serious line to cross. And if you want to stay updated as this situation continues to unfold, make sure you like and subscribe for more updates.